Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today? This is Abby and I'm back again for another life principle study. This time we're going to be talking about being aware of God's presence and how it energizes us for our work. And that is the fourth life principle that we're going to be talking about today in Deuteronomy 20 verse 1. So let me grab my Bible so I can show you the verse. His number's Deuteronomy chapter 20. Okay, if you have your Bibles, you can go ahead and grab them. Verse 1, it says, hold on a second. Just 1 second. When you go out to fight your enemies and face horses and chariots and an army greater than your own, do not be afraid. The Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, is with you. That's one of the best verses in the Bible, is that God is with you. And it says the awareness of God's presence energizes us for our work. Ecclesiastes 2:24 teaches us that nothing is better for a man than that his soul should enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw was from the hand of God. This may be challenging if you don't have a very fulfilling profession. Maybe you're a caregiver to your children, spouse, or aging parents, and your job is exhausting. Summarize it. I'm not exactly doing the verbatim book this time, but I am summarizing it. Even if you really like your job, it may not always be enjoyable, and everything has difficulties and frustrations. Every job has difficulties. Even being in school is difficult. So even if you're not in a very fulfilling job, you can be assured that God put you there for a purpose. And how do you feel about your work? And is it your dream job, or do you just go by and pay the bills? God expects you to do your best no matter what. Whether it's people, politics, or other kinds of problems that cause you distress, you may wonder how you can stay motivated. Life Principle 4 gives you this encouragement that the awareness of God's presence energizes us for our work. And then we read Deuteronomy 20 verses 1 through 4, so I'll read the rest of that section. When you prepare for battle, the priest must come forward to speak to the troops. He will say to them, "Listen to me, all you men of Israel. Do not be afraid as you go out to fight your enemies today. Do not lose heart or panic or tremble before them, for the Lord your God is going with you. He will fight for you against your enemies, and he will give you victory." And it said, what kind of assignment that did God guarantee the Israelites would face? And they would face an army that is much greater than their own. And that is also another reason that they might be afraid and discouraged, because the enemy outnumbers them. But God promised that he would go before them and give them victory. And it says, the word afraid in the Old Testament also means to stand in awe of, revere, or to respect. Only God deserves your awe, respect, and reverence. Deuteronomy 3:22. Let's go to Deuteronomy 3:22. Deuteronomy 3:22. Do not be afraid of the nations there, for your Lord your God will fight for you. So only God will ever deserve to be feared like that, because he is strong enough to outnumber your enemies. And it says, read Deuteronomy 11:7 through 12. And review why God was giving the commands to Israel. And so Deuteronomy 11:7 through 12. And before I read that, I want to give a shout out to Melissa Reeves. She's actually doing this with her Wednesday night Bible study group that she does. She leads Bible study. And so she's actually using this study as a guide. So hopefully we can all bounce ideas off of each other for this study. And if you have any other things that you've done, that you've what I'm trying to think of that you've learned from this study, and that we may not be seeing it that way, you can comment down below, and I will read all of your comments, and maybe we can all learn from each other. So Deuteronomy 11, verses 7 through 12 says, "But you have seen the Lord perform all these mighty deeds with your own eyes. Therefore be careful to obey every command I'm giving you today, so you may have strength to go in and take over the land you are about to enter. If you obey, you will enjoy a long life in the land the Lord swore to give to your ancestors and to you, their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are about to enter and take over is not the land of Egypt, from which you came, where you planted your seed and made irrigation ditches with your foot as in a vegetable garden. Rather, the land that you will soon take over is a land of hills and valleys with plenty of rain, a land that the Lord your God cares for. He watches over it through each season of the year." And it says the reason that the people of Israel had to stay focused on God during this time and review why God was giving these commands to Israel, because they needed to take hold of the promised land. And the people of Israel were right about this. They couldn't conquer the land on their own, and it was absolutely imperative for them to look to God for courage and grace whenever they faced their enemy. And you might be wondering what this has to do with your particular job. But as a believer, you're serving a living God every moment with every task. So anybody and everybody that believes in God especially has a fulfilling job, because God promises that He's not going to give us just a crappy reward for serving the King of Kings. I mean, He is the King of Kings, so when you're a servant to Him, that's the ultimate job. So you're not going to get some crappy reward for, serving Him, because His riches are better than any of the most expensive things on earth. Even King Solomon, when he was on earth, he didn't understand how, amazing God's riches actually are. When we get to heaven, I can only imagine, there's a crystal sea in heaven. So, I can only imagine how incredible it is, especially when God says, we're going to be like Christ, so our body's going to be incorruptible, and I can't even imagine how that must feel, where, certain people, like me, I can't even walk, a few miles without my legs hurting, but now we can, Jesus was able to go through, buildings and stuff, and this is going to be amazing. So, you know that your job's fulfilling, because you're going to get that reward in the end. And whether or not you're driving enemies out of the promised land, or you're changing diapers, or making $1 million deals, or delivering pizzas, or teaching Sunday school, you have to honor God in everything that you do. And this is life examples here, and it's asking us, what's the worst job that you can think of? So that's also another conversation starter. So comment down below, what's the worst job you can think of? Garbage collector and sewage workers are really bad. I think my uncle actually works for a sewage system, and I think he goes down in there and repairs them or something like that. And the stench and the possible diseases are really bad, and that's why I chose that job, because it has to describe why it's so terrible. And then next we have to read Genesis 39. Genesis 39. Excuse me. Okay, Genesis 39, 20 through 23 says, "So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries, because Joseph took care of everything, and the Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed." And that is why the keeper of the prison had such confidence in him. And Joseph's life in prison was, what they asked is, what do you imagine his life was like in prison? And I said it was scary, but it wasn't that bad because he was productive and God had a plan for him. So Joseph spent at least a decade in prison. That's a long time. But none of it was wasted. God used the invaluable experience to teach him the principles that he would need when he governed Egypt. And to position him for maximum impact and blessings. Read Genesis 41, 15 and 16, and then 38 through 44. Okay. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream last night, and no one here can tell me what it means, but I have heard that when you hear about a dream, you can interpret it. It is beyond my power to do this, Joseph replied, but God can tell you what it means and set you at ease. And then I started on verse number 37 because that's where the subtitle started. So Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, can we find anyone else like this man so obviously filled with the Spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent and as wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh removed a signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger, and he dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Then he had Joseph ride in a chariot and reserved for her second in command, and wherever Joseph went, the command was shouted, kneel down. And so Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all of Egypt, and Pharaoh said to him, I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or a foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval. So that is how God blessed Joseph's faithfulness by allowing him to become second in command to the Pharaoh. It may not seem like you have much of a reward right now, but a lot of the things in life are not instant gratification, and that's one of my college teachers was talking about that. She said, a lot of teenagers these days, and just being in the modern world, no matter what age you are, you expect instant gratification because there's so many things that can get stuff done really fast, and you just can't imagine waiting for your reward to end. It's like everything you expect it to be like one of those stuffed animal things where like if you grab the claw game, so where if you catch the stuffed animal it comes out like immediately. But in life, like going to school, they don't pay you to go to school, but what pays you is the knowledge and the certification. Like you need that acknowledgement from the government that you have a high school diploma. And in certain cases, a lot of cases, you need that acknowledgement from an accredited university that you have a degree in that field or a degree at least in something around that field so that you can do your job so that you can get paid. So really, all that education is ensuring that you have a place to sleep and things to eat and health care and insurance and cars and even things that you love that aren't necessarily necessities, but things that you love in addition to things that you need whenever you get out on your own. And I mean, I'm not on my own yet, but sometimes, like back in the olden days, they had to go out on their own much younger than we are. Like I'm 18, but some people probably be in different countries. I know they have marriages much younger, and so they're already married and having children, but I'm still here with my parents. I still live with my family. But every step that you take in your education is worthwhile, so I can definitely understand this in my own life. And the last few sections, excuse me. Sorry, I got tickle in my throat. Living the principle. Okay. How can you stay motivated and honor God? Joseph did it by remembering God was with him no matter what. And he served the Lord regardless of whether he was in prison or serving as second in command to Pharaoh. And you should do the same thing. Colossians 3:23 and 24 says, "Whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of your inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ." Like I said earlier, the inheritance that we have in heaven is incorruptible. It's not like money where you can spend it and you don't have that money again until you work. You don't have to do anything. Once you get to heaven, you won't have to do any more stuff to earn God's favor and God's riches. It's already there. But while you're on earth, we have a job. Because even though we can't repay God's blessing, we do have certain additional blessings that we can earn on earth because we reap what we sow. Like Joseph, you may not know why God has allowed difficulties that you face. You might have a certain goal in mind, but maybe God's plan is much greater. Just obey Him and don't lose heart. Galatians 6:9. Let's see Galatians 6:9. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Whether it's a battle with an enemy, a challenge, or a personal crisis, God is with you. He's your energy, strength, wisdom, and creativity, but He's also your boss. So do your very best for Him and allow Him to work through you. He's got a great victory and a wonderful reward for you if you'll just trust Him and do as He says. And it says, Isaiah 65:22 through 23 says, "My elect shall enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain." How will you live out life principle 4? Have you encountered a situation in your work that causes you to fear or be discouraged? Discuss ways you can keep your mind focused on God's presence and honor Him in your work. Then spend time in prayer, asking God to draw you into intimate communion with Himself and to transform your life so that you can affect the world for the sake of His kingdom. Life lessons to remember. View yourself as a servant. Philippians 2:5-7. So you must have the same attitude that Jesus Christ had. Though He was God, He did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, He gave up His divine privileges and took the humble position of a slave, and was born as a human being. When He appeared in human form, He humbled Himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on the cross. And I actually just read through verse 8 because there was a comma in verse 7, and the way they wrote this verse out, the way they structured the verses, it just doesn't make sense grammatically to me, so I just read verse 8. Realize that you work for the Lord Himself. Excuse me. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He's created us anew in Jesus Christ so that we can do all the good things that He planned for us long ago." Isn't that a good thing that we're the very handiwork of God? So the God that made supernovas and galaxies and black holes and things that scientists can't even understand created the human body, and even this small size, compared to a black hole, human bodies are very small. So if we can't even understand the complexity of the human body, then how amazing God is that He created everything that ever existed. Realize that your pay comes both now and hereafter, and that's what I was kind of trying to hint at. So 1 Corinthians 3:13 and 14. Anyone who builds on that foundation may use a variety of materials: gold, silver, jewels, wood, hay, or straw. But on the judgment day, the fire will reveal what kind of work each builder has done. The fire will show if a person's work has any value. So just don't be discouraged and keep up the good work, you guys. I love you all. I'm so glad that I got to come to you this Thursday, and I hope to be doing more videos on a regular basis. So watch out for our next study installment, which should be on Saturday. I'm trying to do these every 2 days. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And like I said, comment down below the worst job that you ever think is humanly possible. And also comment down below about certain things that you've learned from the study, if you've done this study and if you're enjoying it. And also comment down below ideas for videos after I do this, after I finish the 30 Life Principles video. And maybe I was thinking about making Wednesdays my video week, because it is a night when many people go to church, and especially now this summer that I'm not home. If I'm not in church, maybe I'll do a video on Wednesdays, but that will still be in addition to the videos that I've already done about the 30 Life Principles, and I'm still going to be doing them. So maybe during this study, I'm going to be, whenever like a video in my every other day schedule falls on a Wednesday, I might have 2 videos that week. So just keep in touch and stay tuned for that, and subscribe, and you can hit the bell notification if you want to, so you can get every single video. I know only select videos pop up at people's subscriptions, and I think it might be based on how much of that person you watch and stuff. But I don't know, because there's a lot of my people that I don't watch as much that still have a lot of their videos showing up in my subscription feed. But hit the bell, subscribe, like the video, comment on the video, and invite your friends to come over to my channel and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching. I love you again, and take care. Bye bye.